Hey guys, welcome to Cosmic Road. I hope you're having a really good day. It's beautiful here in the Brazos Valley in Texas. I hope you're having a good one. I want to talk about my theory on silos. This is, as far as I know, a brand new theory in the world of UFOs and the paranormal, and I wanted to share it with you live. So I hope you are ready. Grab your tinfoil hat and let's dive into this because I am really excited to present to you what I call my theory on silos. Hey, sweetie, my wife just came in the door doing a live stream. And yeah, anyway, so one of the most fascinating things that I've discovered in my research onto UFOs and the paranormal is that there are so many differences in the accounts of various researchers and experiencers. Now, often those are on the same subject. Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's just take Atlantis. I don't know how many of you are interested in Atlantis or believers in Atlantis. Anybody in the chat, do y'all believe in Atlantis? Are y'all into any of that? Because there's some really awesome evidence that's been accumulating over the last few years. And it goes back to the 70s, fingerprints of the gods, all that kind of stuff, where there are ruins all over the world that have the same sorts of construction hallmarks, little things they do, and in their construction that are very idiosyncratic and that would not be commonplace from culture to culture in architectural style to architectural style. And these are ancient ruins. And there's many other there's a the doodles, the hieroglyphics, the all sorts of very similar or even exact language characteristics, as well as architecture and other cultural motifs, myths, and anyway, it's a whole big thing. There's researchers that have really delved deeply into the subject of Atlantis, and I highly recommend going out and finding those. I could give you some links later. Yeah, okay. So the deal is there's some excellent research into Atlantis, and there are some excellent sources. Some of my favorite sources are like remote viewers and people who remember past lives, who remember actually living in Atlantis or in a culture that existed at the same time as Atlantis. Whether that's Lemuria or Mu or ancient Egypt or what have you. So there's all sorts of different sources for the legend of Atlantis and for information about Atlantis. So, in our modern day, learning about archaeology and the different mythological motifs of various cultures that are very similar. So there does appear to be some sort of ancient global super civilization that existed, Ice Age ish. So Plato, yeah, exactly. What we know about Atlantis, where that legend comes from in Western culture, is Plato, and Plato learned about it from somebody who learned about it from the Egyptians, and the Egyptians claimed, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, to be founded by Atlantis. They were a colony of Atlantis, and that is where this legend comes from, passed down to Plato. And so many researchers have exhaustively, researched Atlantis over the years, and they have found all these things all over the world that seem to illustrate some sort of commonality, some sort of global civilization. Whether that's the cocaine that was found in the Egyptian mummies that was only grown in South America, or the exact same hieroglyphs, pyramids found all over the world, uh, yada, 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 yada. I'm not going to go through that. There's been researchers that have done that far better than I can. But I want to say that the archaeological and modern day evidence that people are finding of the physical ruins and traces of culture is one silo of information. So this is all to do with my silos of information theory. So let me explain to you what a silo is, what my conception of a silo is. And so one silo would be what we are able to learn through archaeology and anthropology, that sort of thing, about Atlantis. So to stick with one example, another silo of information is what we might find through people who have been hypnotically regressed to understand and remember their past lives. So all those people that have been regressed that remember being in Atlantis, or in the case of people that remember being in Lemuria, according to some researchers, uh, they remember being attacked by Atlantis. There was a war between Atlantis and Lemuria, according to these people. So that's one. That's another silo of information. Is you're getting this information about Atlantis from people that actually remember their past lives being there, or maybe they were in ancient Egypt or someone else somewhere else that knew about Atlantis and what was going on there. So that's one silo of information, people that remember their past lives. Another silo of information is people that are remote viewers that have remote viewed ancient Atlantis. And there's multiple remote viewers that have remote viewed Atlantis or Atlantis adjacent, like ancient Egypt, that sort of stuff, that knew about ancient Egypt or ancient Atlantis. So that's another silo of information. Another silo of information on Atlantis is the people that intuited stuff. They were given this information, but either in near-death experiences or meditation. They have learned about Atlantis through more spiritual means. So maybe their spirit guides told them this. To me, that's kind of adjacent to remote viewing, but not exactly the same thing. So those are four different silos of information about Atlantis. And within those silos, there's even sub silos, but I'm not going to get too far into that. But an example is there's a really great researcher that has regressed people hypnotically, and it's all about Lemuria and how Atlantis attacked Lemuria, and they were enemies. Lemuria had some crystals that Atlantis wanted, and Atlantis wanted this spiritual crystal technology, and Lemuria would not give that to them or could not give that to them. That led to a war, and Atlantis wiped out Lemuria, according to this researcher. And there's multiple subjects that she's had as far as hypnotically regressing them to remember this stuff about Atlantis in Lemuria. And so that is one sub-silo, because there have been other researchers that have, by similar means, uncovered different information on Atlantis. But so those are okay. So the silos say different things. All those silos, if you look at them independently, there's multiple witnesses, multiple ways you could corroborate the information in those silos. The remote viewers, sometimes they will remote view the same thing about Atlantis, corroborating each other's accounts independently of each other. Obviously, the archaeological and anthropological evidence corroborate each other. Some of the spiritual information corroborates each other, some of it doesn't. Um, and was it Edgar Casey? He was one of those that was given this information in more spiritual means. So some of that, and he was saying, if I'm remembering that correctly, that it was Edgar Casey, that there were, and if it wasn't Edgar Casey, if you know who that was, please comment in the chat. Let me know. But he was saying that there were godlike beings existing among the ancient Atlanteans. Maybe they were aliens, maybe they were spiritually evolved humans, or another race of man. We don't know. But so there are different versions of the legend of ancient Atlantis coming through us from different sources, or what I call silos of information. So, what does it mean that those sources contradict each other? Like, seriously, grievously contradict each other. Like, the account that I was just referencing, where there were these godlike beings living in ancient Atlantis. Well, that conflicts with the account of Atlantis going to war with Lemuria over these crystals, because Atlantis did not have this spiritual ability. Well, obviously, if they had gods living amongst them, then they would probably not need Lemuria's spiritual crystals. So, and there's all sorts of, and also in that version about Atlantis attacking Lemuria, Atlantis is an evil empire, and the Lemurians are the good guys. In other accounts, Atlantis is not an evil empire, although in various accounts it had a high point and then it fell by various methods. And there are many different ways it fell, from abusing their psychic powers to, the ice caps melting and flooding them, to whatever. There's many different versions of that story. So, what does it mean that there are so many different versions? Why do the various silos of information, which by themselves corroborate each other, I mean, within that silo, generally speaking, there's a lot of corroboration within those silos, confirming each individual account, and the various specific sources of information within those silos? Many of them are very credible sources. CIA remote viewers, that sort of thing. People that have been hypnotically regressed, that have elements of their story that can be corroborated. So there's all sorts of points of corroboration within these silos, but they don't get along. It's like oil and water. The various accounts don't mesh. So what does that mean? Now, a lot of these accounts are coming through the phenomenon. They're coming through remembering past lives. They're coming from some sort of intuitive methods where you're reaching out for knowledge and being given it. I think that's the Edward Casey story. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not an Edward Casey scholar. And there's people that have come about it by other means. Talking to their spirit guides, having a near-death experience, and talking to beings of light, where they were given a whole bunch of information. Most of it was stripped from them when they came back to the living world, but some of it they retained. And sometimes they will talk about what they learned about Atlantis. And so that is another silo. That would be a fifth or sixth silo of information about Atlantis, which conflicts with the other silos. So again, so that is a piece of information given to us by what I call the greater phenomenon. And what I call the greater phenomenon is the whole pie, of which the UFO phenomenon is one slice. There's also the Bigfoot slice and the cryptid slice. Well, Bigfoot is a cryptid. And there's the, ghost, there's a slice. There's the near-death experiences and the whole spiritual slice. There's portals. There's people from the future. There's a whole bunch of stuff involved in what I call the greater phenomenon, or I just call it the phenomenon for short. And that encompasses everything: other dimensions, UFOs, the whole shebang. So if this information is coming to us through the phenomenon, and the pieces of information are different from each other, does that mean the phenomenon is lying to us? So, what do you think about that? I hope somebody says something in the chat. Let me know what you think. Am I making any sense? Am I making my point? Am I just gibbering and jabbering? I know there's probably a little jibber jabber, but let me know if there's some sense in what I'm saying and if you're understanding what I'm saying. And I'll go on. And there are all sorts of other silos and other fields that this is prevalent in. I made a couple of notes here. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, let's talk about alien abductions. One of my favorite subjects because it is such a weird and yet very true subject. Well, the meaning behind alien abductions um, differs greatly. The meaning, the methods, what it's all about, depending on what silo you're looking in, it is very, very different and conflicting. And so that adds to my theory of silos and my question whether the phenomenon is lying to us. And if so, why that would be. Uh, Ancient intelligence control, different factions. Yeah, I can see that. I can totally see that. I definitely think there are different factions, and their agendas are not in line with each other. I don't know what those are. If you have any ideas, let me know. But yeah, back to alien abductions. There are different silos of information about that. Mainly, what I'm thinking of when I say that is different researchers, people that have hypnotically regressed, hundreds or thousands of subjects. Um, they tend to attract people who have very different accounts. And that is really weird. Let me swallow. Uh, Acid reflux, man. Yeah, when I make these videos, editing them, I can always edit out my acid reflux. But I've got a, whew, man, it's bad. Yeah. So, but yeah, back to alien abductions. So like David Jacobs, he has thousands of people that he's regressed, and probably tens of thousands of different accounts because he'll regress each person many times, and his accounts form a very clear picture, a very nuts and bolts picture, and it trends toward hybrids, the aliens creating hybrids which then are embedded in our culture and the alien abductees slash contactees, which by that point generally are pro alien or pro visitor, whatever you want to call them. Those people, whether it's Stockholm syndrome or what have you, tend to side with the visitors and the aliens ultimately and want to help them. They identify with the cause of the aliens, even if they don't really remember what that is until they're regressed. Um, Test in medicine called Gaviscon. What do you get? Well, I don't know what that is. What is that? What's Gaviscon? But yeah, so about the alien abduction. So David Jacobs, his research with these thousands of subjects and tens of thousands probably of individual accounts of sessions, they trend toward nuts and bolts alien ships with this this technology that can alter your mind and control your mind, and hybrids that are seated amongst the populace of the world for some unknown, likely nefarious reason. And he talks about the shift, the change that's coming. And these alien abductees are being trained by the aliens or the visitors. I go back and forth on what to call them. The others, some like to call them. But yeah, so David Jacobs' research says that there's a change coming, there's a shift coming, the abductees are being trained by the visitors to help the aliens when this shift comes. They're being trained in crowd control to channel the crowds that are panicking, possibly because UFOs are descending or there's some, natural disaster we don't know. Some say they are being trained to direct people toward UFOs in the event of this disaster. So the world's going to hell, and people are being directed to board UFOs to take them to some place of safety, or not. One would assume is the idea behind that. We don't really know. There's not enough information about what the aliens' agenda is, according to David Jacobs. And I absolutely believe him, and his mentor Bud Hopkins was also great, and their accounts aligned with each other. And there are many sessions they had with many subjects really aligned and corroborated each other very nicely. Um, Oh yeah, and medicine to treat heartburn. Well, thank you. I'm gonna have to look into that. Gaviscon. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, I'm gonna check that out because I could use it. I take omeprazole right now, but it is not getting the job done. But anyway, so yeah, so David Jacobs, well, that silo, David Jacobs and Bud Hopkins, that silo of information about UFO abductions trends toward hybrids and a possible takeover of the Earth by hybrids. Okay, so there's other silos of information about abduction. And that's, like the Barbara Lamb school of thought, or not even school of thought, but, her, equally thousands of subjects that she's had and countless individual interviews and regressions. And she has a much more mystical, spiritual, higher dimensional way of looking at things. And there are others along with Barbara Lamb that say that the same thing, that's what they're getting. And a lot of that has to do with Gaia, that is the living earth, which is a living being according to that school of thought and that silo. Or beyond that silo, it's really a whole thing unto itself. Faith system that Gaia is a real living force, a living an intelligence, and we are small beings, obviously, on living on Gaia, and Gaia is ready to ascend to the fifth dimension according to those researchers, and that is what their subjects are saying. This is what they are learning through their hypnotic regressions that the aliens are telling them, that yes, Gaia wants to ascend to the fifth dimension, and she may wait for us, she may not wait for us, but they are hurrying up trying to evolve us spiritually so that we can go with Gaia when that time comes. So that's what the alien abductions are about, according to that silo, is that the aliens are abducting us and tweaking us. And that's why they're tweaking our genes and teaching us stuff. And there's many, countless accounts of alien abductees who remember the aliens teaching them about, chakras and spiritual energy and all sorts of spiritual stuff like that. Many abductees, when they come back, when uh, they have abilities just like near-death experiencers. Some of them can heal. Some of them have psychic powers. So it's really amazing, and that all seems to corroborate that silo. So and then that Barbara Lamb silo is very different from the David Jacobs Bud Hopkins silo. So, and those conflict with each other very much. Now, you might say maybe there's different aliens abducting people for different reasons, and I think that's likely. But those are very different reasons. Is one alien race abducting us to create hybrids to infiltrate human societies, while another is abducting people to raise us up spiritually so that we can move with Gaia into the fifth dimension. And I don't say that jokingly because I have come to believe in weird things. So if I started off in the David Jacobs school of thought, I trend a little bit more now toward the Barbara Lamb school of thought, although with a twist. I think there is some higher dimensional spiritual stuff going on, but I don't think the phenomenon is being honest with us. So I am very slow to believe anything coming from these silos of information. And that is because they do conflict with each other. Yeah, extraterrestrials interested in nuclear sites, missiles, and military vehicles seems to be about control. Yes, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that is some scary stuff when they, are disabling our nukes, or in the case of Russia, priming their nukes, which was really alarming. There was a really interesting theory on that, why that would be. We had our nuclear strategy, our philosophy. I'm blanking on the word. Is was that we are second responders. We are never first responders. We will only respond to a nuclear attack with a nuclear attack, but we would never be the engagers of nuclear war. We would never launch first. Russia had the opposite policy. They would launch first. That was their official policy. They would launch first. So when the aliens came to them and messed with their nuclear stations, they primed their nukes as if to show the Russians the fear that they would feel when that day came, when they would launch first. And with us, they disabled our nukes because we were responding. We were only responding. So they were teaching us what it was like to be powerless and what it was like to being waiting for a nuclear attack. That was the theory that this person advanced, and I thought that was a really fascinating theory, and I believe that was a high level experiencer that was espousing that point of view. And yeah, other dimensions are a reality. I absolutely believe that other dimensions are a reality. Since I have becoming interested in all of this, well, I'm not a passive researcher. I try to engage in this stuff. And so I formed a ghost hunting group. I formed or co-founded a MUFON group, and I, practice meditation and spiritual stuff. And I've had some experiences. So I do believe there are other dimensions, and there is more to all of this. But I am slow to believe in any one school of thought necessarily, if you will. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know what it all means. If you know what it means, or if you have some idea, let me know in the chat because this whole thing blows my mind. I don't know what's going on, but these different silos of information, each one on their own, are very credible, but they conflict with each other. So why is that? So why does the David Jacobs silo of information conflict with the Barbara Lamb silo of information? They're both highly credible psychologists. I think they're both psychologists, and their information has been confirmed and corroborated. All their thousands of clients that have engaged in this, back them up. They're not making these accounts up. These are real accounts. But these people that are having these different experiences or different coming to different beliefs possibly or coming to very different people or else, and this is also possible because these people are recovering this information through this hypnotic regression. What if something is altering that regression? What if the phenomenon is camped out on these two poles, David Jacobs and Barbara Lamb, and those two camps, and it's aware of that, those researchers and those psychologists that are doing that, and they manipulate the regression so that because that would be the easiest way to do it, wouldn't it? Instead of manipulating the minds of thousands of people independently, it'd be much simpler just to go to the actual therapy sessions themselves and manipulate the actual sessions and the memories that are being recovered. So anyway, let me know what you think about that. I think that's a really fascinating thing. So that's another example of a silos of information that conflict with each other. And there's all sorts of other examples. The secret space fleet. There's all sorts of different silos of information about that that again conflict with each other quite a lot. There's the secret space fleet by Corey Good, and his followers and his silo of information. They're gathered accounts that more or less dovetail with each other, and they have a very specific picture that they're painting, whether that's real information or misinformation, or given to them by recovered memories. That's one specific silo of information versus various other sources of information we have about the secret space fleet. And there's so many whistleblowers and remote viewers and hackers that have uncovered information about the secret space fleet. Some of it corresponds to Corey Good. Some of it is it's less about humans working with aliens, and it's more about the space Yahtzees. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the German word or not on YouTube. You really have to watch what you say on YouTube these days. But yeah, so there's the Corey Good school of thought versus the space Yahtzee school of thought in regards to the secret space fleet. And there are many other silos of information about the secret space fleet, and they conflict with each other. So, what does that mean? If you guys have any thoughts, please let me know in the chat. Meanwhile, I'm looking and seeing other examples. Yeah, there's the creation of human life by aliens. There's different versions of that. I'm actually thinking about doing a whole video just on that. Let me know. Would you like to see a video on the whether aliens created human life? Because there are, a lot of people that believe that. And there's some really credible information about that. But there's also different silos of information on that conflict with each other. And there's so much involved in that one subject, the alien creation of human life, that I am tempted just to make a whole nother video on that. But that would be another example of silos of information conflicting with each other. And basically, all of the information that we have on that, each of those silos is coming from a different aspect or seemingly even the same aspect of the phenomenon. It is the visitors that are telling people directly this information that conflicts with each other. One visitor will tell somebody this, another visitor will tell somebody that. Yes, we created human life. This is how we did it. Another visitor will say, this is how we did it. And yes, of course, we created human life. And those, interestingly, are usually the Greys that are saying this. Meanwhile, there's the Nordics running around that look just like people, more or less, look like humans. So why is it the Greys that take credit for creating humans when clearly you would think it would be the Nordics because they look just like us? So maybe the Greys created us to look like the Nordics, but that doesn't make any sense either. Because what about the Neanderthals and the Denisovans and the Homo florensis? I can't say that word. The hobbits. There were other races of human that existed back in the day, and it doesn't seem like the aliens created those other hominid races. So what's up with that? It doesn't seem to make any sense to me. But yeah, so the aliens have taken credit on multiple occasions and many occasions for creating humans, but there are different versions for that. And I will go into that on another video in more detail. Got some cat hair on me. Yeah, let's see. There are any comments? Anybody have anything to say about that? Uh, yeah, there's the different meanings of life. According to one silo of information, we are here to learn lessons. According to a lot of near-death experiences, the beings of light tell us that we are here to learn lessons, which may be true. Others say our primary goal here is to spread love. Now it can be both, I suppose, but it seems like they're talking about our primary goal here. You would think it would be one or the other, or that it would be one and then the other. It would be to spread love, number one, and then to learn lessons two. But they seem to say that our primary goal is this or that. Now, it could be that different people have different goals. Some is to spread love, some is to learn lessons. Who knows? But then there's another whole silo of information that says, actually, no, this reality, we go into this reality to decrease entropy, that this dimension or this set of dimensions, whatever this is, was created to decrease entropy for the greater reality. And this is, gets into fractals and all sorts of craziness. But yeah, there's a lot of crazy dimensional stuff going on in this scenario. And in the God or the beings of light, whatever you want to call them, supposedly created this reality as a way of decreasing the chaos in the greater reality. That's expressing itself through fractals and creating order out of chaos. I'm not going to be able to explain that really well. If anybody can explain that better, please let me know in the comments below. But yeah, so that's another silo of thought that conflicts with the whole idea of we came here to spread love or to learn lessons. But again, it could be all three. It could totally be all three. But they do say you are here to do this, and they give one reason. They don't say you're here to do this, this, and this. So to me, there's a conflict there. Maybe I'm reading too much into that. Let me know what you think about that. But to me, that's another example of a conflict. Um, yeah. So anyway, I think you get the point that there are different silos of information that say completely different things. And a lot of this information is coming through, previous life hypnotic near-death experiences, remote viewing, the visitors telling people information directly, the beings telling people stuff directly. So it is the phenomenon interacting with human beings, telling them this information, but the information doesn't line up. The information is conflicting in many ways. So, why is that? Are they simply wrong? Is one being saying something that's, he or it is incorrect about something, and another being is coming out with the truth? Are they both, each one receiving different stories that they are being told, and they are only repeating what they have been told? Or is the phenomenon deliberately lying to us? I don't have any idea, but I am very wary of trusting any particular silo of information. I don't subscribe to any particular schools of thought. I am evidence based, but my definition of evidence isn't maybe scientific. If I have a ghost experience, there's no way that I'm going to prove that scientifically. I have had ghost experiences, and other spiritual experiences. That is evidence to me, and I know people that I trust that have had even crazier experiences. To me, that's evidence. So I believe in what I can see and hear and what I can find out uh, myself, but I am slow to trust things that I learned through these silos because they are conflicting. Of course, when I learn stuff directly given to me, that is also coming from the phenomenon. So, can I trust it? For example, I had a download, if you will, not long ago. And, I will tell more about that later because that's definitely deserving of its own special video. It's very important to me, and I think that y'all will like it. But the question is, does it, fall under the same, wariness that I have for these silos of information? Do you trust what the phenomenon tells you? And that's the big question I have. Maybe you guys can come up with the answer. Please let me know in the comments below. I would love it if you did. Please hit like. Please subscribe. And if you do subscribe, please hit the bell next to it to be notified of future videos. That would be awesome. I'm really trying to grow this channel. So if you enjoy the content today and previously, please share these videos. Let's try to grow this and make this a thing. I would really appreciate it. It would definitely encourage me to go on and make future videos. So that'd be awesome. So hit like, please subscribe, and very much please comment below because comments make a big deal on YouTube. And yeah, it makes a big difference with the algorithms. And, also I love interacting with you guys. And I love hearing what you have to say, especially because I don't claim to have any answers. I just have more questions and maybe a different way of looking at it that some people do. I have never heard the silo of information theory before. So I think that is new to the phenomenon. And I encourage you to share that and to talk about it with other people. And when you do, please reference Jack, that's me, of Cosmic Road because I am the author of the Silo of Information Theory, and I'm very proud of it, uh, rightly or not. And if somebody else has come up with that theory before, let me know because I need to know if somebody else is saying that. And I don't want to claim credit for that idea if it has been out before. Does anybody have any comments or any questions before I go? Because I'm about to hit the road. But yeah, I'd love to talk more with you if you guys have anything y'all want to talk about. Yeah. By the way, this my alien cup. One of my ghost hunting buddies gave it to me. All right, guys. I guess that's it for the moment. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. Again, I'd love it if you could give this video a big thumbs up. That'd be awesome. And until next time, all right, hang on. Hold that thought. Do you believe in Bob Lazar? I do believe Bob Lazar. I do. His pieces of information have been corroborated one by one over many years. They'll find one nugget that they can corroborate like the guy that hired him. They finally find the guy that hired him. Then they found the hand thing that he was signing in to to S4 with this weird gizmo that read the bones of his hand, the space between the bones of the hand. And they just found that just a few years ago on eBay. So there's just one thing after another that has been corroborated by him. So I don't see any reason to disbelieve him. He took people out, that he was able to say, hey, there's going to be a UFO test flight on this particular day. Let's go and take a look at it. And he would bring people out, and they would go, and sure enough, there would be these lights flying around in the sky that were weird, anomalous lights that did not seem to be helicopters or planes. So yeah, I do. I tend to believe Bob Lazar. I mean, I don't want to believe anybody 100%, but from what I've seen, he's very credible. He has stuck with his story all these years without changing it. So to me, that he seems very credible. Why? Well, what do you think? Are you a Bob Lazar believer, or do you think he's just kind of a nutcase, or just a hoaxer trying to get attention? Now, I don't think he's trying to get attention because he really tries to avoid attention as much as possible, and he's really not good about speaking in public. And he doesn't seem to crave it or want it. And he does seem like kind of a legit genius that you would want on your team if you were, you know, if you were reverse engineering UFOs. He definitely has an interesting way of thinking about things, and he loves. Uh, yes, school record isn't clear, and that's true. And people do remember dropping him off at school. They can confirm that he did at least get dropped off at that university to go to class. But yeah, it's really weird because if he did go to that school, was it Stanford? No, it wasn't. What Stanford was it? Yeah, remind me what school it was. And But yeah, so if that's true, because we have the school records, we have school yearbooks that don't have him in it, or records that don't have him in it, which would seem to indicate that somebody went through a lot of trouble to hide that information, even like switching out yearbooks. Like the Men in Black would have had to create their own yearbooks, false yearbooks, and go into people's houses and switch those out. But then there are, we have been able to confirm that he was on the Los Alamos, live YouTube. I blank on stuff. It wasn't Los Alamos. It was it Los Alamos? Anyway, yeah. So yeah, he was actually on the in the phone book. So there have been various ways they have been able to corroborate that he did work there, and that he did go to school where he says he went to school. But man, they if his version is true, if his story is true, then that means somebody, the government, went through a damn lot of trouble to hide that. I mean, creating false yearbooks and breaking into hundreds of people's houses and planting those yearbooks, stuff like that. So, wow. I mean, the mind reels if that's true. And yet, one thing after another of his account has been confirmed. So I do tend to believe Bob Lazar. If you don't, I totally understand. And I think that the full story on Bob probably hasn't been written, but I can't wait to find out more. Yeah, do you have any other thoughts on Bob or anything related to that? All right, guys. Well, it's been a lot of fun. I hope to do this again soon. And again, yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate the comments. If you if you like this content and you want to see more, please share the word and encourage me to keep going, because I really enjoy doing this. But it is really nice when the channel grows and you see people responding to it. So okay, all right, later.